some things some things never change. Regarding human nature, we will always want to, most people, survive and procreate, which is something that we've been doing for thousands of years. It's just part of our DNA. Those are the things that we want, despite whatever changes around us, whether technology or any different cultures. We want to survive, and we want to pass on our genes to the next generation so that our genes survive. It's a survival mechanism. And some people, will go to surprising means to justify that survival so that they survive. They are able to, their, their genetics is passed on to the next generation. It's just part of how things are, and some have said before, some philosophers have said before, that the ends justifies the means. But however, that is not always the case. Let me give a very simple example. I spend most of my time in Nigeria, and Nigeria being renowned, world renowned for being one of the most corrupt countries in the world, well, you see a lot of interesting things. And amongst them, I have worked quite a number of bits with a individual that I need to entrust money with. I remember one instance among many. I gave him an X amount, and some time later, he tells me it was a lesser amount. However, I had physical evidence that I gave him that certain amount. Of course, I didn't say anything for reasons that I won't go too deeply into, perhaps we'll touch on later. But I made a mental note of that. In that instance with that Nigerian, I did not trust him for obvious reasons, because he took some of that money and put it in his pocket, most likely. So those people, they burned a bridge. And what he did was understandable. It's understandable in that he wants to survive and procreate like everyone else. And having that extra resources available to him grants him more options to better his chances of survival, procreation, prosperity. Some will say, through this literal example, that again, the ends justifies the means. I'm here to make the argument that that is not necessarily always the case. Sometimes the ends, they do not justify the means. Going back to this Nigerian, they've betrayed my trust. They're no longer trustworthy. And when you show to the world, show the people around you that you are not trustworthy, bridges burn. Doors of opportunity, they close, slam shut, rather, on you. And people look at you with an air of suspicion. Key point on why the ends does not always justify the means is, I am still here. I'm recording this video. But what I'm trying to say is that when someone does something that is vilifiable, that other people find horrific, to try to achieve some goal that will ultimately help them with their survival, whether it's murder, stealing, looting, any number of things that violate these certain human decencies, let's say, something that, not get too religious about it, violates the Ten Commandments. Thou shalt not kill, shalt not steal. One violates that, but other people that were witnessing or were hurt by this person's vilifiable activity, well, they're going to remember that. They're going to have always have that in their head, even if they can't do anything about it, and even if that person cannot do anything about it. The ground of trying to rise up to a better position is built like this beach behind me on sand. As you rise up, that foundation is always sand, and it's sand because things are always changing in an unpredictable way. There's so many different factors going on in the world around us. So who knows? You may have succeeded, you may have bested someone using some dirty tactic. But later on in the future, in a way that you may not be able to predict, they may be in a position to stab you in the back. So be careful.